I would say it's a tragic romance where two very crazy ends of the spectrum on mental health and drug abuse kind of meet in the middle.
Okay.
And then they just kind of take it off. We have one end that it's very much an addict from like recreational drugs. And then we have the other end of the spectrum who is an addict for the medical system, where you are pushed into having to be prescribed a lot. I would know because of the things I do. I was just telling you with the pro wrestling stuff. There's a lot of people who are really like addicts of these medications that they had to be put on because of pain reliefs and things like that. Yeah. So that's that. It was like those two worlds kind of like colliding in the middle and seeing what happened, that's what JD's is.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Film Goals Podcast. Today, I'm with the one and only Joseph Espinosa.
That's right.
A FOOF production.
FOOF Productions. You got it, right? Yeah, look at you.
So thanks for coming on the pod. Yeah, man, it's an interesting name. So I guess we can start with that. Like, how'd you come up with that name?
So a FOOF Production. So ultimately, what it is, it's a relief. Obviously, I'm a Mexican filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker that happen to be Mexican, right? So with that, it's like sometimes they ask you like, "Hey, do you like my food?" Oof. And that's kind of how it was. And then as things went around, I just added that A, at the end. So it was like, whew. And that's what this is for me. Like filmmaking is like that relief of the world. It's like that breathing time to be like, oof, making films. That's what it is. So foof.
Oh, okay. I like that. See, I knew there was a name behind it. Because at first I thought I was like, okay, what is the abbreviations for?
Yeah, I know. Everybody's like, what is it? But it's cool though, because like once you learn it, you never forget it.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, yeah. I like it. So let's talk about how you got into filmmaking. Like, how did you start and where did that passion come from?
Sure. So I actually got really lucky, I would say, because when I was in high school, I was working for this guy who actually owned a production company. So he did like weddings and 15s and sweet 16s and quinceañeras and things like that. Mm-hmm. So he was like, "Hey, bro, like I need a cameraman." Mm-hmm. And I know like nothing about cameras. I always wanted, like, I was always that kid in like events and things that would grab the camera, and like this is back in the days when like, you're talking about like the big cassettes or the ones that you like. Well, very later it was like the like little discs you can put in the cameras. So my dad got me one of those, and I was like, I love recording things, but I didn't know that it was a thing. Like I didn't know it was a filmmaking or anything like that. So yeah, he opened the doors for me. I worked for him for like 4 years. And that's where I try everything, bro. Like it was like every weekend he was super busy, and every weekend like we had an event. So that's what I learned, like dollies, zoom ins, and I met Harley with the camera. I did everything with the camera with him. So again, I think the most important thing for whatever you do is getting those reps in, and that's where I did it. I was like, this is what this does. So
you shot everything from like quinceañeras to parties.
I think the biggest thing, events, weddings. I didn't do it for like he was mainly because he was always packed. He mainly did events, and that really teach me a lot. Where I learned later on film that I love doing like one takes.
Okay.
Like long takes. If you see my films, you see a lot of long takes. Like if we can squeeze things in and make it happen where the camera follows. And I learned that on events, because events you get one shot and you get that, like if it's like I remember he had one rule only, and it was stay with the bride. Like that was like stay with the quinceañera. Whoever it is, it's always a girl, and stay with them. No matter what, they're gonna do something cool. Then later on the line when I'm editing, it's gonna look fantastic. They're not gonna see it now, but later on it's gonna be great. So that's what I learned. It was just go.
Yeah, for sure. And how did you get into storytelling? Because do you write your own films, right?
Yeah. So I think it comes with the necessity of a language. Like filmmakers, I think like we think that it's like, it's just a matter of grab a camera and then I can just record whatever you want. And yeah, there's a factor of that. But also there needs to be a solid story to be able to tell whatever that is. It doesn't have to be, a nominee award winning anything. But hey, tell me what's going on. Oh, this person wake up, did this thing, whatever. So I think it was a necessity of, I wanted to film, but I didn't have nobody, like I didn't have a writer to be like, hey, can you make my things? Which other people do have and grow in that circle. I didn't. So I started just writing, and turns out for the people who follow me, they liked it and they see potential. And obviously I would say is a little bit of talent, and again, whatever. But and then it just kind of took off. The last film we did, it was just called Black Rose, and that was actually written by another dude who I learned. I met on one of my premieres, and he was like, "Hey, bro, I really want to work with you." And the pandemic happened, and I had a lot of time, so I read it, and I was like, "Dude, let's just fix a little things in here." So shout out to him. His name is Jorge Cruz. And yeah, so we make his movie. We changed a couple things, but I was able to like kind of bring that to life. And then we have JDs and everything else I've done before.
And what was like, because what was that step from doing the events to filmmaking?
So I was going more for like the business side. So I was like, like what he has 3 cameras. Like I just need to buy the camera. And then you buy the camera and say, I just need to buy the lens. And then you buy the lens, and it just kind of involves, I need a monitor for this thing. And then he actually, again, super lucky. He had too many people that he was like, Joe, can you just take over this whole? And then I started editing and learning the software and like start kind of like helping him in the back end. It wasn't just recording anymore. It was editing too. Okay. And then it just kind of transitioned into like one day I was like, I can do this.
Okay. That's awesome, bro.
So my support group, it's just still when I was in high school, were the ones that were like, bro, let's do these. And that's when we created a FOOF, and we just went at it.
That's awesome, man. That's pretty dope, dude. So what was your first project that you worked on?
First project ever, I was like, I can do this. I did a mini series. It's called Wisdom. And boy, he taught me everything. It was a 10-episode miniseries on YouTube that we did. I had half of a story written because that's another thing. You got to learn the script and how to write it and the formatting and all that stuff that you learn later on the line. And I remember recording it with an iPhone and a DSLR camera that was specifically for photos, but happened to record video, and then, that's what we did. We did Wisdom. I got 5 really good, like, I know what I'm doing episodes. And then as I went along and I was asking friends, hey, do you want to be on my series or whatever? People would come by and be like, yeah, but I want to do this. So then you would write it in, you would be like, oh, yeah. So at the end, we cut it off at 10. I literally, episode 9, we have like 17 outcomes. And I was like, all right, everything gets tied up into this one grand finale. And, but you learn. Because again, I think for me, it was like, and it goes really back to what I was saying with the getting the reps in. In those 10 episodes, I was able to do 10 different short films. You know what I mean? 10 different micro films, and kind of you learn as you went for each of those. So by the time I was done with the series, I was like, okay, I already did 10 things. Yeah. Which if you're starting, don't do a series because that's gonna be crazy. But if you do, just keep in mind you're starting and you learn as much as you can from that.
Learn as you go. That's how I started too.
That's cool.
We did a web series.
Nice.
And it was around 10 episodes or something like that. So
it's always like that, right? It's always like 10 episodes sounds good.
12 is too much. And now you have series like Netflix or whatever. They're only like 7-8 episodes.
It's crazy, right?
They remember when they used to be like 20 episodes deep, and it
was but the difference that I noticed with that, because I'm a huge like Guillermo del Toro fan, and strange like monsters and like things and creatures. So I was obviously super hooked on the Stranger Things. But I noticed that every episode, it's like, it's only 7, but now they're like an hour, an hour and a half. So it's like
you're getting a whole movie in one episode.
In one episode, and it's like, oh man, I really gotta like follow through now to get to the next one. As in before, it was like 20, 25. I mean, I grew up with like Drake and Josh, and like it's just 15 minutes and like 35 ads.
So I found out about you through your film. What is it? Dialectin?
Dilección.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Dilección is unconditional love. That's what it means. It's on Greek. Actually, you can look it up.
And that was kind of like a cop kind of drama.
Yeah,
right?
It was a little bit like a mystery, like thriller.
Okay. Yeah. So what is your style then? How did you like? What kind of films do you like to do?
So I love action, thriller, mystery. A little bit of tragedy. I think that's what it would be. It's all about the point of view, how you see it. And I love to create things based on people's point of view or a specific character's point of view, or even if the story is telling this in a point of view. So you're going to see that in my films, it's always about you got to not only watch the film, but also understand like who is telling the story, who is the person who's like, we looking at this. So that's kind of what I like to do. But lately I've been doing a lot of like a romance and tragic romance, which is kind of crazy. but I love it. So that's kind of where we are right now.
So did
Hopefully.
you say you loved Guillermo del Toro and monsters? Have you
That's right.
gotten to that yet? Do you want to
Yeah,
make a
so
monster
JD's
movie?
actually. So we did a test project first. It
Mm-hmm.
was it's called Nevor. I was learning still color theory and things like that. We did a creature. It was green, but I lighted red. So if you know anything about color theory, the color that you light with, it's important. Otherwise, it kind of flats down. So
Mm-hmm.
you want a contrast thing. Like we have
Okay.
the orange and teals and all that. Well, this creature was green, and I lighted up red, so it just completely blend in within everything. And we spent like 6 hours on her makeup. Like it was
Oh
crazy,
wow.
but it was that. It was a try on. Like I want to just
Make a monster movie.
yeah. I just was like I want to see how the process is,
Mm-hmm.
and I also bought a bunch of like new equipment at the time and. I was like, let's just put it together. Again, I have a nice crew that always backs me up in like, this is only for this, and then we're gonna go do the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
For JD's, we actually did a full-on body makeup,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a creature in there, and
Okay.
I'm really really happy with that monster. So you should watch
So
it.
that's the film that you just released, right?
That's right.
So yeah, tell us what it's about and how did you come up with the story? And
So that movie, it's a miracle. It's been taking us 4 years
oh
on the
wow,
making.
okay.
Crazy things happen. I lost it. My computer burned.
Oh shit,
Like
you already had stuff shot.
no. It was all script.
Oh, you lost the
All
script.
script. And
Okay.
then it's just madness. Again, 4 years between here and there. Some of the professional stuff that I do, kind of were in the middle. JD is supposed to come out before Dirección. That's how long this
Oh
movie
wow, okay.
is like being in the making.
Uh-huh.
But things happen. And one day we just finished Black Rose. We put it on Amazon Prime. Everybody's like, yeah. And then you always think as a filmmaker, now next, like what
What's
next?
next? Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't remember because I literally lost the script for it, so it was like gone.
It was gone already.
Like
Mine too.
everything, bro. Like my computer literally reset from.
But you
zero.
didn't remember it? Like
I remember what I wanted to do, and I actually have notes. I have this notebook that I call it my idea notebook. Like I carry literally with me everywhere because you never know when you're gonna have an idea. So just write it down. It would not make any sense at the time,
Yeah.
but then when you open it up again, it's like, oh yeah, zombie with a burger or whatever. And at the time, it was important. So I did had it there, and I had the main points and everything that I wanted to hit. But I didn't have the script, so it was like pretty much starting from zero. So then I pushed it aside, and I was like, oh well, let's start something different, whatever. And then one day I was looking at my emails and I sent it to myself. I just sent the script to
Oh.
myself. It was 120 pages long when it started. So super crazy long. So then, obviously you can kind of see like a younger filmmaker when I made it. And then now the filmmaker who I am. And I was like, okay, this is not going to work. Let's put this one somewhere else. I love to talk about this, but I think this is more important to dive into a different project. So little by little, just take things away, and then we finally shoot. We shot 69 pages of it, so that's what's in the movie now.
oh okay. Wow. So what is it about?
So it's unconditional love, kind of like Dirección, but it's I would say it's a tragic romance where two very crazy ends of the spectrum on mental health and drug abuse kind of meet in the middle.
Okay.
And then they just kind of take it off. We have one end that it's very much an addict from like recreational drugs, and then we have the other end of the spectrum who is an addict for the medical system, where you are pushed into having to be prescribed a lot. I would know because of the things I do. I was just telling you with the pro wrestling stuff. There's a lot of people who are really like addicts of these medications that they had to be put on because of pain reliefs and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's that. It was like those two worlds kind of like colliding in the middle and seeing what happened, which is that's what JD's is.
Okay, that's awesome, bro. And how long did it take you to shoot it after you figured out you got the script and everything?
So once we got it set up, it was shout out to my producers. We were on pre-production for about, I'm gonna say 9 months of like getting cast people and kind of setting things up and down, cleaning some stuff in the making, getting the locations and pre-production stuff. So it took us about 9 months, and then we started shooting. If I'm not mistaken, we started on March 1st of 2024.
Okay.
And we wrapped everything on April 24.
Okay.
So it took us about, shooting wise, about 2 months.
Okay, that's not bad. Damn, 69 pages. That's really good.
Yeah,
So
bro.
this is your third feature film, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And how many shorts did you do before you jumped into feature your first feature?
So I did. Oh, solid ones. I'm gonna say if we count wisdom as one thing,
Okay.
probably I'm gonna say 4 or 5.
Okay.
Like shorts, but I did micro before.
Right.
You know, where like, okay, I just want to get this one thing across the board.
Right.
So I would say 10 things before
Yeah.
we got to my first feature.
Okay. And then you wrote that one, right? You wrote the Lection.
I wrote the Lection and I wrote JD's as well. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. And what are you? What kind of like topics do you like to talk about? Obviously, you're doing romance and stuff right now.
Yeah.
But what is the stuff that you want to like
So
get across?
I'm gonna probably move away a little bit from romance, because I feel like it's important to talk, and I love the I guess that, but it just happens that like my career kind of pushed that way. But I'm more interested about like serial killers and like mystery and like really like we're actually looking right now into a horror film, you know, where we might go all out on like the creature itself. So I just want to have fun. I think in this part of my career, I made it enough to where like I know what I'm doing enough to get to a point where like, okay, I don't have to worry about the light setup or the camera that I'm using or what lens I'm going to use. I can just worry about telling the story the way I want to tell the story. You know, like JD's was a lot of first times for me. We flipped a car, you know, with there's a scene with a car accident. We did a lot of like new things. The creature, we did the full makeup creature, but before that we had to do some like molds, and because of the hands and the fingers that Guillermo does, I want to kind of mimic that. So we did a lot of first times in JD's, but I feel like for the story and for the purpose of what we were trying to tell, it kind of was in a little box. I want to be able to just go out and have fun.
Yeah, go all out.
So probably that's kind of what it sounds like right now, but you never know. I mean, if the right time and the right project kind of comes up, you'll take it and you'll do it, and then you're like, oh, that was great. Moving on.
No, for sure. Yeah. How did you flip the car? And what went into the whole process of doing that?
So it was crazy because first of all, we need to get a car. I'm lucky enough that my dad's a mechanic too. Like he does kind of like body work in the site. So I knew like I knew where I could get a car that was like not gonna be running, you know, because that's all we needed.
Yeah.
But the crazy part about it though was like we needed to get the car before we can plan the shots, because there's a couple of shots where he's driving and the car, you know, you can't just flip a car and then like you're driving it, you know what I mean? So it's like it was really really picky. So we needed to get 2 cars. One of the flipping, whatever that was, and however we were able to get that.
Yeah.
And then the one that based on this one, kind of matched the driving one, which we were able to do. We ended up getting a BMW. And again, my dad's a mechanic, so that kind of helped me taking down like the engine and the transmission and like everything that could break, anything that was like, I wanted things to break, but I also didn't like, it was gonna be too heavy to flip, so we wanted to make sure we remove things. We removed like tires and like the back of it. Like I don't remember exactly what it's called right now, but the whole thing that is holding the wheels together, the axles, all of that was gone, and we just put it at the very end to kind of look at the wheels rolling and stuff. So the car was really really light, and then we just dialed it into the scene. And then the place when we were doing it, they had a tractor, the kind of one of those like 4-lift ones. So they just pull it up and push it over, and then we record obviously the shot and everything. And
where did you do it? Did you do it like on a road or?
No, we just we did it in like, well, I wanted to roll, but it was too much for like Vegas, like permits, because they needed a lot of people, and even though it didn't have an engine and stuff like that, so we did it on a private property. We did it on a ranch that the producers knew the person's off, and it was just open desert. So then I made the story kind of make sense to where, how, and why would they end there. Gotcha. You know what I mean? So, you know, like I said, I was telling you, like, you always had this idea of what you want, but then as you go along.
Yeah, your budget determines what you can do.
You gotta you know, you gotta twist it and be like, all right, well, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, and we're talking about actors earlier too, where you never know what's gonna happen, so you always kind of want to account for all the scenarios.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Sure. That's dope, dude. No, that's crazy. Yeah, I thought you would have done it like on a road or something. I was gonna ask you how much that would cost.
I wanted to. Trust me. As a matter of fact, when they had the ranch, it ended. The road ended, and I was like, if we can just like flip it
over the cliff.
No, it was kind of like a just desert. You know how Vegas has those streets. Yeah, because they have the planning of keep construction, but it's a ranch. It's like in the middle of nowhere, and it's like from here is probably like an hour, but it's still Vegas. I was like this close. I was like, can we just like go to the end of the road because it's open? But because that one belongs to the city, it's not a private property.
Yeah.
I could do it, but it's the gorilla style.
Yeah.
But it's a car and I'm flipping and we need to safety and all that stuff. I was like, nah, let's just do it over here.
Yeah, that's cool though, man. We think that's like your biggest like stunt or stuff you've done for your projects?
I don't know, man, because although it was really cool to flip the car, I think like the things it's every project gives you a little bit of like, whoa, I didn't know that. Or like, whoa, I didn't know this could work this way. So I take a lot of pride on like getting whatever that is the scene for with my actors. I think like flipping the car was cool, but I was excited for recording the scene of what happened or why did we got there. So like the car is really beautiful in the background, but the most important thing was like, is this gonna make sense for what we're trying to say? In Black Rose, we had a tub scene where she's kind of cutting herself, and I was like, I need this. We had like fog and the lights and the colors. I love my palette. I do a lot of blues and reds, so everything was so beautiful. I had a crane shot where the camera was like above them, and I was like, everything needs to work perfectly to where she's like out of the water. Crazy stunt for that film was like this dude carry her out of the water. The water's falling down, and he's just like carrying her all the way to the wall. For that to come out the way I wanted it to come out was crazy. For the Lección, we have like there was a scene where we came in on a mall with permits, with guns and stuff. And it's like in the back of the house. But still, I was like, are we going to be able to make this through? Is there going to be a freaking security guy who didn't get the memo? Is going to come in and be like, oh, hold on. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, so like for JD's, there was a lot of those moments where I was like, is this going to work? Is this going to work? We did drone shots at the very end, and it was in an open park. Has never been windy. We look up the weather. Everything's looked nice. We tried it 2 times. We went in and tested the shots. And the day off, we have the biggest win in Vegas. You know how it is. And I'm like, oh, my God. So those moments for me are the things that is like, are we going to be able to just, when I get to editing, was this good enough, right? Is this what we wanted to get? So there's a lot of those really cool moments that happen, but you're not really prepared for. So really cool.
That's dope, dude.
Each individual one kind of gives you like this is different.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let's talk about real quick your wrestling, because you just told me you're a pro wrestler. I don't know what you can say or we cannot say.
Don't worry, we'll say everything.
Yeah, just tell me about it. How did you get into it? And like, I mean, you're performing in that, so. And have you thought about performing in films? Because you're performing as a wrestler. How do you?
So wrestling started because my dad is a big fan. When I was growing up, like we were always going to like wrestling shows locally and like the TV shows and things like that in Mexico. So I blame him for that. But he always kind of like, I was always very like competitive, and my parents always put me in like, activities, sports, things like that. So I always wanted to do something. And although I love like soccer and things like that, I always felt like it wasn't like soccer is like you got 11. But, out of those 11, like, it's really difficult for that one person to stand out in the whole team. So with wrestling, it was more like you're your own brand, you're your own person, so you get to do whatever you need to do. So until I moved to the U.S., I did Olympic wrestling in high school. Okay. And then it just took one to another, and I always wanted to wrestle. I really started just because I wanted to put a mask on. That's what that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get my own mask, and like, I didn't really care about the wrestling part that much. Yeah. But once you get into that world, oh my gosh, like it hooks you, it gets you, and it does not let go. Yeah. It's very difficult. It takes a lot of like training and a lot of like learning the stunts and how to fall properly. And there's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of deal. It's kind of like a little bit like actors, like dealing with a lot of egos and, but at the end of the day, it's like you have to be good enough to where I trust you with my body, so it's a lot, but that's kind of how it went. I started really young. And then once I had the opportunity and the money to be able to do it by myself, I was like, hey, let me try a gym. And I keep coming back until I debuted. So. Okay.
And then you say you travel, like, how does it work? Are you doing different companies that you wrestle for? Or are you wrestling independent?
So here in Vegas, it's very much independent. It's really weird for you to get signed. There's a couple companies out here. One is FSW, which is the first company that I ever worked for and the first company that opened the doors for me. didn't really do much there, so you probably won't know who I am. But then I did went out. Versus Pro Wrestling was my second home, and it's gonna be my forever thankful home because they were the ones that debuted me. Okay. My coaches there gave me the opportunity to like try it on a first show and then develop myself into a character. And then from there, you just take off. There's no signing until you start getting to the point of EAW or Impact or we can call it whatever, WWE, right? All those things kind of have like a little of a little ladder that you have to get to. But I'll tell you though, the independent pro wrestling world, it's pretty massive. Like thanks to my character, I've been able to travel like everywhere and made a lot of different promotions. So yeah, I'm pretty much an independent contractor. But it's fantastic to be able to get a call and be like, hey, I have a show in Utah, New York, whatever, and then I'll be over there.
That's tight, man. How often do you wrestle?
So when I was there full time, I was doing it. I was every weekend pretty much, except for those special events. But it was every week, every other week. So every 15 days it was locally, and then every other 15 days it was like out of town. Okay. But once my stuff kind of came to ease with Versus Pro Wrestling, I was just doing outside stuff, and it's not that you don't want to do it anymore, but they always tell me this. They're like, I love seeing you here, and I love that you perform here, but if you're here, it's because you're not doing enough. So I would rather not only see you once a month than see you every day. Gotcha. So that's the motivation to like get all the promotions to hire you and go wrestle at other places. Gotcha. So that's what I did.
And where do you want to go with it? Do you just want to keep doing it, like do it for fun, or?
So right now my focus is filmmaking because, as you know, this career is expensive and it's also like it's just. I love wrestling and I love coming out and like getting the titles and the people. But there's nothing I don't, and a little bit of wrestling is storytelling, so that's pretty cool. But there's nothing that burns my soul even like more than filmmaking. Like being on set is like the best place I can be, even if it's just quiet and it's only the actor. Kind of what we're doing right now. There's cameras, we're talking like that is. I don't love being in front of the camera as much. That's right now. That's why I'm just looking at you.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Like, as a performer, you're in front of an audience, though.
Yeah, bro.
Is it different when the camera's in front of you?
Well, I think, yeah. Well, yeah. If you're a filmmaker, it's very difficult. But I think it's that, like, with my character, I wear a mask, so I'm able to take it off. Yeah. I don't put it in until, like, 10 minutes before I go up, and then I immediately take it out. And, like, there's people who, like, because we travel a lot and we go out. There's times where I just wrestle this person and we both get out at the same time, and there's people waiting for us, and like my friends or my coworkers, I would call it. They would ask for pictures and get pictures, and like people, oh yeah, because they don't wear a mask, and I'm just standing there like because they don't know who I am, right? Yeah. So.
You like being anonymous.
I've been able to turn it off. Yeah. To be able to be like, hey, no, you know what? I'm Joseph Espinosa. I'm a filmmaker today, And then I'm also like, whenever I put it on, that's who I am. I'm the wrestler, right? Yeah. I'm like, oh, so close that I want to say it. But I don't want you guys to look me up. But yeah, it's that thing where you constantly like have that freedom to say like, all right, I'm just, going to be able to turn this off. Yeah. And right now, honestly, like I was just saying, like not only because the career has given me so much and I spent so much time in filmmaking, that's where it hurts. And it gets to a point where you're like, your body can't hold it anymore. Yeah. Like I'm planning on getting really close to like starting my family at some point soon. And like, right now I only have nieces and they're great, but like, I get tired, like I'm carrying them around and running around, and I'm like, damn, like they're not even mine, and I'm like, like I get to clock out and go home, but so like imagine once I start having my family, like in wrestling, I tore my meniscus on my right knee, blow my shoulder, elbows, like I've done a lot of things in wrestling that has given me and has taken away from me, so. I'm taking a little, not a break necessarily, but I'm slowing down to get to a point where I'm like, I want to carry my kids. Yeah. I want to be able to play with them. I want to be able to move around and be a good, healthy father. Yeah. So, but it was, it was really fun while it is. But it's always gonna, I have a little tattoo of my mask, and me, like it's always gonna go with me no matter what.
That's dope, bro. All right, well, that's Joseph. Check him out. Not the wrestling stuff, but the filmmaking stuff.
You can check out the wrestling stuff. Go follow Versus Pro Wrestling. I mean, there's not that many mass wrestlers anyway, so you'll probably
you can figure it out.
you'll probably know.
Man. Well, yeah, check out the films and everything. And this movie, Jedis, when is that gonna?
Jadis. So we just released the theater release right now. We're doing the premiere. But we're hoping for it to be up and running by the end of October on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
But it's up to them always. If not, we'll find a way to release it and people watch it. I think it was a really hard work from a lot of people to get this done. Mm-hmm. And like storytelling, it's something that Vegas community needs to start doing more, you know. Yeah. When we got the invitation to come over here, I was really excited that you were a filmmaker as well. Mm-hmm. And I saw a lot of familiar faces as well. Yeah. Because that's what we need, you know, right. Filmmaker community, family. We need to push ourselves to where like, hey, there's talent out here. Yeah. We don't need to necessarily wait for anybody else to come and tell us how can we do our things, you know. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully the end of October, if not the beginning of November, for JD's on Amazon Prime. Shout out to main roles Kevin and Ashley. They were fantastic and so grateful to be able to have them and work with them, and you know, hopefully keep working with a lot of more Vegas local actors that
filmmakers,
you know, and filmmakers that want to be coming out. I was just saying that. I was like, dude, we have so many. You know, we got gaffers, we have, you know, anything, call it whatever you want, DPs, anything you want. We have them here. We just gotta get together. That's all we gotta do, you know? So,
all right.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on, and we'll see you guys next time.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Peace.